I'm actually curious for Greg's thoughts on this. Like, how do you separate the irrational concerns from the rational concerns? And sort of how do you avoid all of those things, or do you want to only avoid the rational ones?
Yeah, the way I like to think through these problems is the real life analogy. I love a certain brand. I can have a bad experience of that brand because, the sales assistants in one store just don't relate to me, or I just don't like them, or they're just not interested in me. Versus I can go into another store in the real world where, you meet somebody who you just established that connection with. So, one of the things we think about, a big company doesn't set out to hire, sales assistants that give people a bad experience, but we know it happens. And what's a good experience for me is not a good experience for you guys. So diversity becomes a big part of this world. Do I want to speak to somebody the same age as me, the same gender as me, the same ethnicity as me? Do I want to speak to them in the same language, in a language I prefer to speak? These are all preferences that become different parts of different relationships in different environments. And these are some of the things we think about. We touched on some of the data and ethics issues. So first rule of our business, we're not setting out to trick you into thinking you're talking to a real person. Hi, I'm Greg. I'm a digital person. Okay, you want to establish trust. You got to be upfront. Right. The world of privacy, we are in an era where, as consumers, as people, we're thinking more carefully about, or starting to think about more carefully about data privacy, and ultimately, I go back to the human relationship. As human beings, when we meet somebody new, we make a decision about what do we want to share. Okay, how much do we want to share? And one of the things we like to think about as a company and an organization is, how does that model work in this next generation of the digital worlds that we're creating at that moment? Because quite clearly, there's a huge amount of focus from a consumer point of view, from a regulatory point of view, from an antitrust point of view, looking at how we fundamentally re-engineer it. But we like to think about it as when you meet somebody for the first time, you make a decision about how much you're going to tell them. Do I trust that person? Am I going? Decisions that we think about as we go. Right.